Before you buy land, there's something you really need to know. Most people think the hard part is building the cabin, installing power, or dealing with permits, but the truth is, the complex part happens a long time before that. The problem is buying land with the wrong expectations. A lot of people buy land and imagine that they'll just deal with it later. They haven't given a lot of thought about the topography, easements, how the county will interact with you and that parcel of land, rules regarding waste, septic. Do you have access to the property? A lot of these things get overlooked, and then people get stuck with a piece of land that may not be necessarily the best one for them. The land itself isn't a problem, really. It's just what the land expects of you. How much work do you need to put in to get the right result? Is this piece of land going to overwork you? Can you get to the property year-round? How will the land be during different parts of the season? Are you in a floodplain? None of that shows up in the listing, and it's not easily identifiable by photos. That's why slowing down before you buy your land is kind of pinnacle. You don't need to catastrophize the situation or anything like that. You just want to know what you're getting into before you get there. If you're already thinking about getting land, I've created a lot of resources that'll help walk you through it in a calm, practical way. They're available on my website if you want them. The thing is, I came out here almost 6 years ago. I had never seen this done before. I didn't have a lot of experience with homesteading or going off-grid. And, well, I found a lot of enjoyment in just working it out and struggling and learning as I went. But not everybody wants or has to do that. There were things that I focused on that I learned later didn't really matter, and there's things that I ignored that I should have focused on. One simple land decision can echo on for years and years. There are a lot of costs that people don't think of, especially when you're as far out as I am. And off the top of my head, well, I'm really I have a lot of solitude, and I love solitude. But if you have transportation that breaks down, solitude turns into isolation pretty quickly. And so, constantly working on my vehicles has been a cost. And I don't pay mortgage, but it costs me about, probably $240 a month to run to town and back, and I only go out about once a week, mostly because I ship packages for customers, and there are definitely costs involved. I didn't have much of a choice when I started. I didn't have a lot of money to invest. I bought a very affordable piece of land that I could afford, and then did research, beforehand to make sure that it would work for me. And, I dug my geothermal by hand with a cheap shovel. I did the same with my root cellar. I dug the swells from the cabin, the pond right here next to the cabin, all the way through the first gate, all the way out to the corner of the property by the second gate. There has been a lot of physical labor, which kind of beats your body up. But I didn't have money to start. I had time and energy, elbow grease. And maybe the biggest thing I didn't think of, I've been out here plugging away, working real hard, I've always worked hard for employers, and I rode myself as hard as a really strict employer would. And I've just been going. And I kind of think I kind of had to, you know. I needed my shelter, water, food. I needed the infrastructure. I needed shelter, this cabin. And I finally have a footing, guys. And it's like I was just nonstop. And that puts a load on you physically, but it also puts a pretty hard load on you mentally. And once I got this footing in place and everything, the foundation is good to go pretty much. My body just crashed kind of, and it's because I could finally relax and rest a little bit. My point is I've slowed down a lot since in the last couple months. And maybe I had to do what I had to do, but if you don't have to do that, if you don't have to, it's good to be on top of stuff, have a list, check it off, make progress, but you also don't want to beat yourself too hard over it. You got to slow down and take your time. And they always say, people say often, right, that the tortoise wins the race. Slow and steady. My point is, you don't have to be in a hurry. And in fact, it could harm you to be in too much of a hurry. It's all right to slow it down. And every single person is going to approach it differently. And every person is in a different starting point or a different place along the way. In 2020, I was laid off and just shocked, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And there's that scary jump point, you know, where you make a decision. And that was me in 2020. And I'm just trying to make that jump as easy and smooth of a transition as possible for you guys who are who I was. I've spent a lot of time putting together resources on my website that can help you along.